Hi, welcome to my channel Ruby Crochet Tejido. Today I'm going to teach you how to make this beautiful design. It's the combination of knit and crochet. Super easy to do and I look amazing. I hope you guys like it and give it a try, and here is the list of material you're going to need to make it. If you are not already a subscriber, please subscribe and click on the little bell. That way you get notification each time I upload a video. Remember, I make my videos in Spanish and English. If you receive a Spanish video and you want to see the video in English, go to the main page of my YouTube channel that you'll find the English version in there. Also, you can send me a message and I can send you the link. And at the end of each tutorial, I leave a playlist with all my English tutorials and video blogs and everything else. For this design, these are the material I'm going to use. Most of them are leftover yarn, except this one and this one that I just used this one for one round. And this one will be for the last round, sleeve and borders. The rest are leftover yarn, different type of texture. This one is a little bit thicker than the other one. This one is like this. This one is like that one, like that. And this one is Bernat wool up. I have a little bit of wool on it in acrylic. And the rest are acrylics, but just leftovers. A 6mm crochet hook. I'm gonna use double pointed needles for the border of the sleeve. This is a 6mm. I'm deciding which needles I'm gonna use. If I use the 6.5, a 7 or 8mm netting needle. So I'm deciding, I will do some work with it and then I decide which one. But I think the 6.5mm will be the perfect size. 6.5 to 7. Because the thickness of the yarn. This one is a medium 4. Most of them are medium 4 except this one that is like a 5, and this one probably a 5, and this one will be like a 4. You're gonna need tapestry needle and scissors. We're gonna make 2 of these granny square. The size is up to you, the size that you want to make. This one is for my size, so I measure from shoulder to shoulder. I'm gonna give you the measurements. You can do more round, you can do less round for yours, depending on the size. This one is 43 centimeter by 43. That is 17 inches by 17 inches. In total I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 rows, and I finish with the color that I'm gonna do the sleeves. I start with the lighter color and I did 1 row of each, and then after I finish in this one I start again with the row of this one, the first one, and then I continue working until I got to that one. I just did it until that repetition of this one, because if I do more it will be too big. So I finished with the one that I'm gonna do the sleeve. So you have to do 2 granny square. I'm gonna show you a couple round, just a regular granny square. Do 2 and I will meet you here. I'm gonna start with the lightest color. It's like a very light, almost bluish gray. I'm gonna do a magic circle, and when I want to do a small magic circle, I do like I'm gonna do a slip knot, pass the yarn through, but I don't pull the tail too close the knot. I just leave it there. I chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. If you know how to do granny square, go ahead and do your 2 granny square. I just doing this part because if a beginner see my tutorial and never done a granny square, I like them to be able to make this design. So you're gonna do 2 more double crochet because the chain 3 counts as the first one. 1, 2, and 3 chains, yarn over, 3 double crochet in the same space. And remember, always you have to work a bit with grabbing those 2 strands, the tail and the little ring. Otherwise, when you pull the tail, don't gonna work if you don't have a trap in there. And 3, 1, 2, 3 chains, yarn over, 3 more double crochet, I'm gonna close a little bit, chain 3, 1, 2 and 3, and the last 3 double crochet. Fix that one. This yarn is a little, opens a lot. 1, 2 and 3, and you're going to do the third chain and do the slip stitch. You're going to pull that tail to close your ring, and you have the base of your granny. Cut the yarn, and I really recommend to lose the tails as you work. That way at the end you don't have any left to do, just put the piece together. And that is the base for your design. Once you finish, your square will look like this, and now we want to work with this one. We're going to start with a slip knot. Go to any of these, chain 3 space, chain 3, one, 2 and 3, 2 more double crochet, and the chain 3 is the count as the third one, chain 3, 1, 2 and 3. Very sticky this yarn. 1, 2 and 3 double crochet in the same space, chain 1 and do the same in the next corner and in each corner, always with the chain 1 space in between, and 3, 1, 2 and 3 and 3 double crochet, 1, 2 and 3, chain 1 and continue all the way around, working the corners, and you're going to finish here with a slip stitch. Now we're gonna start with the next color, and it's like a sage green. What we're gonna do is the corners, chain 3, 3 double crochet in total, chain 3, 3 double crochet, chain 1 space, and the chain 1 space, 3 double crochet, chain 1, and you're gonna do the corners again, 3 double crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochet, and you continue to do that one, and then you change color. After the sage, I did it's more like a blue, and the other one is more like an ink color, not quite a gray, but bluish ink, almost gray in between. It's an in between. And then I did the green, and then the one is like a lace, and then I start all over again with the first color, and I work until I got to this color in here, and then I did the last row. If you want to make this bigger, you continue with the other colors until the last round. You will do with the color that you're going to continue. This one will be like a medium size. I'm almost a small, in between a medium and a small right now, so I don't want to make it too small for me. I just measure you know, like from shoulder to shoulder, under the, like the part where the armpit start, just right there is the width that I give for this. So you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, I'm gonna count the space that I have here, not the corners, just this space, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 spaces. That way you guys can guide yourself as well. So I'm gonna do the other square, and I will meet you here. Remember, just 2 regular granny square. Once you have your granny square, it will look like this. You have to make your 2 granny square. Now you have to decide if you want to work with static needle or you want to do the entire thing a crochet piece. I'm gonna explain how you can do it with crochet. Mine gonna be a combination of crochet and net. So I already done this other one. This is what we're gonna do with the netting needles. I have my stitches here for the sleeve and in the other side. That way when I do the other one, I just pass them onto the needle and it's easier to continue my work. So if you're gonna do net and then you'll continue, but if you're gonna do crochet, I'm gonna explain a little bit what you can do with your 2 piece. Once you have your 2 granny square, you'll decide measure the amount that you want to leave open for the sleeve, and you'll work half here of the stitch at the square until around here, and then do the same on the other side, and then in the other piece you will do the same, but you can attach them as you go, or you can do the other one and then sew the 2 pieces together in those stitch in one side and the same of the other one, and then sew the top on the leaving the width for the shoulder, leaving the opening for the head. And then what you do here for the sleeve, you will do the same granny stitch until you have the desired length for the sleeve. You can do it for until around here, and then you do a round a single crochet with decrease to make it smaller, and then you can do a cuff with a single crochet, or you can do the 1 by 1 front post, back post stitch and do the border. It's up to you if you want to do this crochet. The rest, but for mine going to be a combination of net and crochet. So what I did for this one, when I finish, I work in the bottom and top of the border. This one's here. So I cast done all the stitches, and in total was 55 stitches, and I work the C stitch and those 55 for 5 rows, and number 6 I cast off or bind off my stitches. I turn my piece and I did the same for the lower part from here to here. I did that. After, and when I went on the side, I cast on my stitches from one end to the other one, and total was 61 stitches, and I work the C stitch for 4 rows, and then in number 5 I only work 33 stitches, and I place this one like this for the sleeve to wait until I'm ready to work the sleeve on the round. And I work those 33 stitches in row 5 and went down in 6 and went up in 7, and I cast off an 8, and then I went to the other side, did the same. I cast on my 61 stitches. I work those 61 for 4 rows, and number 5 I separated 28 for the sleeve and 33 for the side, and then I work those 33 for row 5, 6, 7, and then 8 I cast off and bind down the stitches, and this one is ready to go. That's exactly what I'm going to do. And the other one, let's say this is the bottom, this is the top. You're going to come here, you had your 3 chain space, you go in the center chain and you start casting on your stitches. You see you have like the 2 strands. You cast on the front strand, leaving the back to the inside. That way it look like this. In the inside, you don't get that in the outside. You see that? And there. So they all have that in the inside by grabbing the strand on the front. So the same thing you will do in the other side, and then each side of the piece. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. I finished the first row. Now I'm going to work on the second one, and remember the C stitch is the same way that you finish the same stitch. You have to start with the same stitch, because on the other side of that stitch is the opposite. So for example, I finished with a net, and if you look at the net, and the back is a purl. You see, I have the purl stitch there. So if I start with a net, and this side, and top of this net will be a purl, and that's the C stitch. So I finished the first row. Now I have to work 4 more for a total of 5, and in number 6 I will cast off or bind off my stitches, and then I will work exactly the same on the opposite side and this border. That way you have the top and the bottom done, and then I will measure here to work on the 2 sides of the piece. And something else that I wanted to mention, if you want to do this longer, you can do it longer. Just do more rows for the length. You don't have to do the same amount of row for the width, because the length has nothing to do with the width. For mine, I might do a 1x1 rib maybe after I finish. To sew on the side and do the sleeve. I will try it on. If I don't like the length, I may do a few rows off the 1x1. But if you don't want to do the 1x1 and you wanted to make it longer, so let me explain a little bit before I continue. That way, if you want to do that, you can do it when you're working the lower part of this. The top, it will stay the same. Maybe you want to do a couple more rows, that's okay, but you want this to be in the center of your body, and if you do too much in the top, this will be lower, the square. So for the length, let's say you want it much longer. Let's say you don't want to do the 1 by 1 rib, and you just want to do the C-stitch. You can do the C-stitch, and then what I recommend, when you're gonna sew the side, you can leave a piece open in the side here, and then start sewing, and then you have a little opening in each side of your piece. Those are ideas that I'm giving you just in case you want to change. This is the best part to do it, because you are working in the top and the bottom, and then you have to decide if you want this longer and do more rows of the C-stitch in the lower part. So I'll continue working with my 6 rows, and here 5, and then the 6 I cast off. And remember to keep track. I have been writing down everything in a piece of paper. That way I make sure that I don't do extra rows from my first piece and the second one. They have to be exactly the same. So I'll work on this and top and bottom, and I will meet you here to work on the side. I finished both border. Now on the side, I'm gonna pick my 61 stitches, exactly the same as I did for the other piece, and I'm gonna work those 61 stitches with a seed stitch for 4 rows. And number 5, I'm only gonna work 33, leaving 28 on a strand of yarn for later for the sleeve, and I'm gonna work those 33 in row 5, 6, and 7, and number 8 I'll cast off or bind off. You have to make sure when you work on the opposite side that you leave those 28 stitches exactly on the same side. You have to make sure that, just in case you leave one in one end and the other one in the other one, they both have to be on the same spot, you know, opposite side. Like finish here, I left that last stitch, so when I cast on, this will be my last one, and then I will start working from there. So I have my 61 stitches, so now I'm gonna start with 1 net, 1 purl, 1 net, 1 purl, 1 net, and then I will do the same for the way back, 1 net, 1 purl, 1 net, and then I will work those 4 rows, and then I will meet you here to do those 33 stitches. I will leave this tail that I have here to guide myself, because I'm starting in this side, in the inside, so I had to make sure that when I start the work on the other side, my stitches when I finish row 4, it will be exactly the same as when I finish this one in the side. That way they are both the side and the sleeve stitches to the same side. I finished row 7. Now I'm gonna work in the cast off by dolphin number 8, and we're gonna work them as we see them, as we supposed to. I finished row 7. I'm gonna cast off now number 8, and we're gonna cast off as we supposed to work them with a seed stitch. So I'm gonna net the first one, purl the second one, pass the net over the purl and cast it off. Yarn to the back, net the next one, pass the one in the back, and make sure that you do this nice and loose, that way it's not pulling in the side. So you have to cast off nice and loose. So I'm gonna, that's in the way, I'm gonna cast off all the stitches. I'm gonna leave a tail long enough for sewing on the side, and then I will work on the other side of our piece. So I finished this side and it look like this. Now we want to work on the other one. In this one, we're gonna work on the right side of our piece in order to have the stitches on the same side of our design. These ones in here. Remember, when I start working on this one, I still have that tail here. I start working from the wrong side, my first row, and this one you have to work the first row from the right side. But when I cast these ones on, I started from this side, casting it on from the front strand, and remember I had that strand in here, or the stitch in here in the border. That is the last one that I pick up, and then I work with that one. So I start from the right side. You only cast your stitches on your needle on the right side, that way that front strand is the right side. Like for example in here, you see you have the two strands. You cast these ones on your needle, leaving the back strand for the inside, and then you'll have this little border in the inside, and nice and smooth in the right side of your piece. So in one side you start on the wrong side working your stitches, and then in the other side you start in the right side of your piece working the first row of stitches. So when you do your fourth, you finish on this side, and then you will work the fifth row till your stitches the same as the other side, and then do those few rows, cast off your stitches, and then you'll have your two pieces together like this, and ready to sew them together and work on the sleeves. So finish that other side, and then I will meet you here. But remember, it's exactly the same as we did for this one. So I finished row 4, and I just wanted to show you, that way you can see that I finished in this side. It's exactly in the same side where I have these half of rows. So I'm gonna work those 33 stitches in row 5, 6, 7, and then 8. I'll cast them off, and then we're ready to put our two pieces together. Well, I finished both pieces, and they look like this. Now, I recommend to sew first on the shoulders here, and when you're doing the sewing and you stop, don't secure your yarn and lose the tail. Do the same on the other side and leave it there, because it will be easier when you try it on if you had to sew more or undo some of the sewing. It will be a nightmare if you sew and lose the tail, and then you realize that you have to undo some of the work. So it'll be much easier for you. So if you don't have circular needle and you want to do the sleeve with a straight needle, I recommend not to sew on the side. Just leave it open and pick all those stitches. I just realized I have a little nick in the nail polish there. These nails are so good that it's almost 3 weeks and still they are there, but the nail polish started to peel. So you will pick all the stitches, you know, the ones in here, the one that you are there, you have them waiting, the one on the other side, this one, and then you will work back and forth whichever stitch you like. The C-stitch or net on the right side and purl on the wrong side, and then you do some decrease if you like, or you can do a straight sleeve and then do just a decrease on the cuff, and then it will be like a poofy sleeve, and then do a border, and you do the same on the other side, and then you sew the sleeve and under here the side and of your piece. For mine, since I have circular needles, what I'm gonna do, sew the shoulder, so the two side, and then casting the stitches on my circular needle, and I'm gonna work on one of the sleeves first, and then I will write down everything that I will do in the first one. That way I have a clear instruction what you're gonna do on yours. So I will do that, and then I will meet you here. I finished with my first sleeve, and look at here. This is the yarn that have like a little piece of darker gray intertwined with the lighter gray. I tried to take it off, but I couldn't take it off because it was part of the yarn, and I have that shadowy there, but it still look nice. So now I'm gonna explain step by step what I did to do the first sleeve as I work on my second sleeve. And I changed my nails today. The other one lasts over 3 weeks, so they last a while. So let's start with our sleeves. So now I'm gonna pick all my stitches, and in total was 64. You have to have even number for this part of the work. So for this was 64. So what I did after I cast on my 64 stitches in row 1, I did a C-stitch, going exactly the same as the stitches in here. These ones that already have the C-stitches, I tried to match which one I'm supposed to do. That way you don't see the change from picking the stitches here under the arm and netting. So the first row was the C-stitch. This is 64 stitches, and then in number 2 I net 2 together, the first 2 together, and then I net and the last 2 together, and total 62 stitches. And then the third row was net. After the fourth row, you're gonna work decrease in all the even numbered rows, exactly the same as I did for William. For example, in number 4, I did the first stitch together, net 2 together, and then I net the rest. And row number 5, I net all the stitches, and then in number 6, I start with all net, and the last 2 stitches on the needle, I knit them together. Those are the decrease how you're going to do it as you work, and all the even number until row 34 or round 34. That was the last decrease doing those repetition. After that, I did in number 40 2 together and knit the rest, and then in number 44 I knit and the last 2 together. And 48 I knit the 2 first stitches together, I knit the rest, and then I did the decrease again in number 50 that I did the last 2 together. And then in 54 I did the 2 first stitch together, I knit the rest, and then in 58 I knit the last 2 together. On number 62 I knit the first 2 together, and then in 66 I knit the last 2 together, and that was the last decrease that I did for the shape of the sleeve. And then from 67 to 80 I knit all the rounds, and at 81 I did a decrease to make the last stitch for the cuff. That was, I knit 3 and I did 2 together, knit 3, 2 together, and so on until I have 28 stitches. And then I did the 1 by 1 rib until 92, and in 93 I cast off my stitches or bind off. So the repetitions for the decrease is simple. Is in 1 even round you do the 2 first together, and then you continue with knit, and the odd number round you knit that round, and then the next even round you knit, and the last 2 stitches you knit them together. That will be exactly the same as I did for Willie's sweater. I don't know if I mentioned that. And that will give this nice angle to the sleeve, you see. I wish I have started with 62 or 60, and here less under the arm, but it's a little bit loose in here. But I did 64, and I continue. When I try it on, I said I'm not gonna undo all my work to just remove 2 or 4 stitches. So that's the nice shape when you do the decrease like that, and it will look under the sleeve like this. Okay, so I'm gonna cast on my stitches, and remember the decrease are in the even numbers, and in the first one you do the 2 first together, and in the next even number you do the last 2 together until round 34. You do that decrease, you know, in all those rounds, and then after you're gonna skip a few rounds and then just work the decrease as I will leave here the rows where you're gonna do it. So I'm gonna cast on my stitches and I start doing the second sleeve. I have my 64 stitches, that was 32 on each side from the center of the shoulder. Now I'm gonna start the first row, and what you have to do is look at the seed stitch. So my seed stitch here is the first one is a net, so in this round I had to purl that one. So if that one's a purl, the next one will be a net, purl, net, purl. I had to start with a purl in order for that seed stitch to be a purl on the top, and the next one that is a purl will be a net. So you have to make sure that you do that in order to do this round. I'm gonna place my round contour right now because it will fall off. This one broke my little, they're so old that this one broke the little wire, and then I have another one here, and then I pass it through, and then later I will fix that. Do a new one. A few new ones. I have all these to do. So I'm gonna pass the yarn to the center. I'm gonna bring it to the front, and the first one is a purl, and then net, purl, net, and this one is my first seed stitch. That was a net stitch. Now I will purl that one, and the next seed stitch is a purl. I will net that one. So I'll continue with the one net, one purl, or one purl, one net until the last one, and this will be round 1. I finished round 1. I'm gonna work on number 2, and you're gonna net the. I finished round 1. I'm gonna work on number 2. You're gonna net the 2 first stitches together. You're gonna net the rest until you have 2 left before the marker, and then you're gonna net those 2 together. After that, in number 3, you're gonna net all that round with no decrease. So when you do the decrease in this round, you'll end up with 62 stitches. And I forgot to mention, if you're making this bigger, you're gonna have more stitches. The only thing you have to make sure that you have even number for the sleeve. I finished round number 3. Now number 4, we're gonna net these 2 stitches together, and we're gonna net the rest. No more decrease in this round. You're gonna work on number 5, and you're gonna net all the stitches without decrease, and then in number 6 you're gonna net until the last 2 stitches before the marker, and you will do the decrease, the 2 stitches together in number 6. In number 7, net all the stitches. Number 8, you repeat number 4. You'll net the 2 first stitches together, and then net the rest. Number 9, net, and number 10, you'll net the last 2 together. And like that's how you're gonna continue working the decrease until round 34. I will repeat again one more time. You will do that until 34. Again, in number 40, you will net the 2 first stitch together, and number 44, the last 2 stitches together. And number 48, the first 2 stitches together, and number 50, the last 2 stitches together. And number 54, the first 2 stitches together, and number 58, the last 2 stitches together. And in number 62, the first 2 stitches together, and in 66, the last 2 stitches together, and that will be 36 stitches. And you will net from 67 to 80 those 36 stitches. And then in number 81, you're gonna net 3 and then 2 together, net 3, 2 together. And you'll end up with 28 stitches that you're gonna do the 1 by 1 rep with a double pointed needle for 10 rounds. And then after that, you'll cast off your stitches. But here I'm gonna leave anyway what you're gonna do in those rounds, how you're gonna do the decrease, and in which one of them. That way you have all the details. Also, I'm gonna finish round 4 and 5, and when it's time to decrease in number 6, I will show you the decrease. That way I don't leave you without that extra explanation. I finished number 5, and then for number 6, you're gonna start netting all your stitches, and then the last 2 stitches before the marker, you will net them together. And number 7, you net. Number 8, you do the repetition of 4, and number 9, you do the repetition of 3, 5, and 7. That is net. And then in number 10, you will net the last 2 together, and that's how you're gonna do your decreases. So I'll continue working the sleeve until I hit round. I'm gonna continue working on the sleeve until I hit round number 80, and then at 81 I will do the decrease with these needles, and in 82 I will change to my double pointed needles. I finished number 80. Now I'm gonna work on 81, and now in 81 is net 3 separate stitch and the next 2 together, and this is the repetition that you're going to do all the way around, just in this round. Net 3, 2 together, net 3, 2 together. I finished that round. Now I'm going to change to my double pointed needle. If you don't have double pointed needle and your cable is not as small as this one, because I can do it here if I want to, but I want to change to a smaller size double pointed needle, to a 6 millimeter, 0.5 less than this one. This one is 6.5, and I'm gonna work with my double pointed needle because I have them. But if you don't have double pointed needle, you can work this 1x1 rib open, like back and forth, and then after you sew that little gap. So what you do is you do 1 net 1 purl, 1 net 1 purl, 1 net 1 purl, 1 net 1 purl, and then you turn your work around, and then you purl the purl and net the nets, you know, like you're supposed to do the stitches. That way they are the 1x1 rib. And after you have the desired length, you'll cut the yarn, leave it there long enough to sew the little piece, secure your ends, and it will be perfect. But for mine, I'm gonna work with my double pointed needle, so I'm gonna mark the beginning of the round, and I'm gonna change to these ones. So you can have 28, you can have 30, 32 stitches, but remember you have to have even numbers for the 1x1 rib. So I'm gonna start 1 net, a purl, a net, a purl, a net, a purl. I'm gonna try to work them that I always start with a net in between needles, so they don't have to be spaced evenly. So 1 purl, and like that, 1 net, 1 purl, and like that. I'm gonna continue all the way around, and then I will be pulling this. That way the stitches are more close to each other, and it's not pulling with this. I finished that round 82. There are not even a space, you know, the amount of stitches on each needle, but that don't matter. The important thing that you have them all, you know, in your 4 needles. And even you can put them in 3. So now from 82 was the first round of the 1x1 rib. So you're gonna work until 92, 10 rounds. And then after that we'll cast off for stitches. I already did these stitches here in Spanish, so it's exactly the same. You're always gonna bring this needle under and this one's on top, the one that you're working with. That way when you do the first stitch, the first one, the last one from here and the first one, they're nice and close. You don't get any gap. And you're gonna continue with your net and your purl. Working with double pointed needles is very easy. These ones are a little long. I don't know what happened to my shorter ones. I had to look for them. So, you see? And the purl. And then you turn your work. And this one always under and this one on top. To the back, and when you come here, you see these 2 stitches will be nice and close together. I finished round and I was praying that I had enough to finish this. This is what I have left from that ball of yarn. So if I had made any changes at the body or the sleeve, you know, one ball won't be enough. But yes, for me it will be. I already cast off a few stitches here in Spanish, so now I'm going to show you in English, and you're going to work them as you're supposed to, the stitches. So the net, you will net, and then the one, you will net the first one and purl the second one, and the one from the back you'll pass over to the front. So you purl the purl and the one in the back, and you always pass through and out, and you do this nice and loose. You have to do this extra loose, that way you have elasticity on the border of your sleeve. So you purl the pearls, pass that one over, and then you net the net, pass the one in the back over, purl the purl, and pass this one over. And like that, you're going to continue all the way around, and you're going to cast off your stitches. So I sew my tag, my Ruby Net Crochet Tejido tag in there, in the back. And I put this one as well, Ruby Net Crochet Tejido. So it's ready to put on the mannequin. I close a little bit more in here. I don't like this to be too open around the collar on the neck. So I left 7 of these granny stitches for the open space. And for the length, I left the length that I did at the beginning, this length. If you want this longer, you can do the 1x1 rib on the border if you want. Or you can pick all the stitches and instead do a 1x1 rib. You can do the C stitch as well a little bit longer. But for mine, I like it with this length. So it's perfect. So I use the complete ball of this color, every single bit. I only have this little left over. But for the leftover yarn, I have more leftover yarn. So now I'm going to put on the mannequin and I'll show you the end result. Well, this is the end result and I absolutely love this design. They look amazing. Remember, you can make these any size. Just do the granny square bigger or smaller. And also the amount of rows around with the C stitch can be less or more. It's up to you. Remember, always measure on yourself, shoulder to shoulder, or in the person that you're making this for. So I hope you guys like it and give it a thumbs up and give it a try and subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. And if you make this beautiful design and you want to send me some pictures, you can do it through my Facebook page, Ruby Net Crochet Tejido, or my Instagram, Ruby Net Crochet Tejido. Please share my video with friends and family and in groups. That way you help me grow here in YouTube. I wish you have a beautiful day. Bye.